have on our Wednesdays just to keep you guys filled in. Um, we're going to be doing a little talky talk show. Zach was the one who coined it. Zach,
Only the name.
only the name, only the name. In what was it? Talk Show Chronicles.
Close.
I have already forgotten.
Chat Show Chronicles. Original.
Wait, you said it was called Chat Night Chronicles now.
Oh, sorry, let me get this right. Anyone watching at home, originally it was Chat Show Chronicles, and then we changed it to Chat Night Chronicles to go with our branded name, as it were. If you've got any preferences, please sure to let us know in the suggestion box below the stream, or comment it.
Come up with something better than us.
Yes.
I say this, not having come up with anything yet, and just letting the others name it.
Indeed, this was hastily Mod Podge together.
We had a whole week to work on this.
It was hastily Mod Podge together. Tonight we're going to primarily be talking about world history and lore for the continent and world of Keenaras. So people who are now just joining in with our lovely streams can have a general idea of what's happened, how things are run, and various other things.
It will also explain...
Oh, go on.
It would also explain why there'll be certain moments in campaigns you'll notice us react to things that seemingly should have no reason to be reacted to. Hopefully this will answer a few of those questions as to why.
Oh my god, not Stephen!
Yeah. Not that ring!
Stephen!
So if you ever hear terms like the arm or the ring, hopefully this background check will help you understand where that comes from.
Indeed. So, on my list of things, it says, let's talk about the general history of Keenaras. How did the setting of the players come to be?
Setting of the players? I was born.
Or the world.
All right. I think that's one that Dougie has to answer more than anyone else, because that's his
I've
world.
changed setting multiple times, like, used to live down south.
How did the game start, Dougie?
How did you make Keenaras your own?
I wanted to play D&D, and couldn't be asked to read any world lore from anyone else. Yeah, pretty much. I literally just started, I think it was around the same time that Critical Role was starting, probably influenced a little bit of it. But yeah, me and my mates just wanted to play D&D. No one else wanted to be DM. We didn't have a world, so yeah. Much started there. I don't think it was even a world to start with. It was just like, there was a village that they were near, and then they started asking world questions. And then, yeah.
That kind of makes me want to ask a question then. What made you stick with it this long instead of like changing it about or doing anything else? Because you've grown this world consistently.
Well, they kept asking world questions, and I kept having to come up with answers, and then I had the answers. I didn't want to make more.
The answers you don't want to make more, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, I came up with that on the fly, and it only kind of half makes sense, but, you know.
It only half makes sense for now, and then later on it'll be like, no, actually, this is the real reason.
Actually, a wizard did it.
A wizard did it. Or a warlock, if it was evil.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I don't even think it had the name Keenaras or Atoria or like any of that stuff to start with. I think I had the name of a village, which is probably now. Okay, if anyone's like looks up on World Anvil and like sees the maps and stuff, I think the original village was in what's now the Wailing Woods, because that's where I set most of my early campaigns, and I just sort of built out and out and out and started naming more and more stuff.
That's something to know. As of I think it was around mid last year, we started to document almost the entirety of the history of this. Well, mostly Dougie did, with only our memory help for advice.
You guys helped me with like that campaign that we were then playing, but that was... So the world started with like a couple of like one-shot games with my mates, and then me and two of my friends, one of them still in our streams, Mike, we played a 3-year campaign from about level 3 all the way up to level 20 and beyond. I think we like improvised up to like level 24 with like boosts and stuff. And yeah, just they ended up spanning so much of the world in that campaign that solidified, I think, the shape of the continent, the major cities, where things were, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And even now, the events of that first like mega campaign, as it were, still affect details that happen today and storylines that can occur.
this is where things like the arm come from. The arm was because one of the players got disintegrated and then through some magical bullshit got brought back, sort of, like missing limbs and stuff. So they like took apart some construct or something and built him an arm. And then because we did that, that became such an iconic item in our games from then on that I think about 4 characters have had it now.
I've had it with one character, but
Yeah.
it was being powered by like a warlock crystal or something else, some magical crystal.
They could Iron
And
Man
then-
fire Eldritch Blast out of their hand, yeah.
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 So it's kind of an interesting tale, that one. I feel like that's one we'll have to tell in its own little story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that could be something we could talk about at a later talk show if anybody does want to hear. Please leave a comment in the
Chronicle of
stream
the
if you're
Arm.
watching now, or a comment below in our YouTube.
Touch the arm.
think-
Or you could talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think The Ring is going to turn into one of those stories as well, to be fair.
it should do. I hope. It needs a few more
Yeah.
adventures before it becomes a legendary item. Yeah. At the
Yeah.
moment, it's just a weird thing in the world. It's not that of legend
Wait,
like
which
the arm
ring?
is.
That ring?
The ring
His
that
ring.
you hate.
That ring. Yeah, that ring.
Yeah.
Ugh.
We'll get
Oh,
to
I
that when
like
we
that
move further
item.
down the timeline.
Exactly. But for the time being, for the newer viewers, so people can be properly caught up with us in what we are currently doing, how about we talk about the past 150 to 100 years and how, like, things came to be in the current world of Keeneros and why everything is so fucky in our current world.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you two will have an idea of why it is the way it is, like on a sort of surface level, won't you?
Well, us
Our
as
whole
players,
universe
well,
is
the audience.
Yeah, no, I meant like, so that was the events of the last campaign. For some reason, the world-ending events of the end of a campaign, which is kind of a D&D trope, I try and have them affect the next campaign, and that generally happens. That is why the characters from my first campaigns have become like legendary figures in later campaigns. That goes weirdly when the end of a campaign is like a natural disaster, for example, or an alien invasion, which was the case in that one, which was thwarted, but sort of last second thwarted. So now there is a crashed alien ship, a giant explosion, a technological advancement because the aliens were obviously really high tech.
Yeah, a giant irradiated area.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those things. Like, one of the questions I has, like, obviously was like, what caused magic to be screwy in the first place, and how long before it took effect and people noticed?
You lot. No, I mean,
well, obviously us lot, but answer.
I'm happy to bat this one with the best I can.
Go for it.
There are details that as players we are privy to know. Outside of it, because they are things we cannot find out. We are blessed in that knowledge. However, this one was kind of more of a almost apparent thing because of how quickly things went wrong. At the end of last game, as Dougie has alluded to, there was kind of an alien invasion sort of thing as mind flayers broke their way through to our plane. And it wasn't just to subjugate, it was a revenge mission, seemingly. They were after something that was taken of theirs. So it wasn't really them necessarily in the wrong, they just obviously have different morals to us. You know. But in the process of us destroying their main Nautiloid, which as you'll know is their main ship, or at least what we assume was their main Nautiloid, we hope. We kind of, not our group, but the Sunday group, I believe you'll know them mostly as well as some other members who are no longer in the main campaign, came up with a plan involving explosions, which may be familiar to anyone keeping up with the current campaign, to destroy the ship. And, well, we first crashed the ship. One of the other party members snuck in and flooded the engine, essentially crashing it down. And that in itself may have caused some damage, but it was at least, recoverable at that point in time. There were evacuation things were somewhat safe. What most of the party members didn't know to some degree is that the city of which it crashed in had at least 2 powerful magical orbs of types hidden around the city. One that was stolen, that they were trying to get back, and another one that would basically almost controlled the arcane weave of the material plane.
Yeah, it was kind of a node for like the local magical powers.
Planar white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had already been interfered with to some extent by like people of the world, but they didn't really have any ability to damage it or like mess with it too much. And then things happened.
This
And
leads to another small question that I have personally as Sunday.
Hmm.
Would things have been drastically different if that specific node would have been like, left where it's supposed to be?
yes.
Like if it hadn't been dug up originally.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Because it would have been so Norrickfirth was the name of the city that this all went down in. That's not where it originally was. They used quite powerful magic to teleport it from the dig site where they found it into the city underneath what used to be the magical like academy there. And yeah, they kind of put it in a really vulnerable position. Again, nothing of that era could have
I mean,
damaged it apart from explodey spaceship.
I was going to say, that room itself, which we found it in, because we found the arcane orb before things went bad, was
Yeah.
quite heavily locked away. I can't
Hmm.
remember exactly how we ended up in there, if I'm being honest. I know that to get out, it was a nightmare, basically. Like, that room was, if you're getting in, you're not getting out. And if you're getting in, you've done something to get in.
I
You
was
guys,
following
yeah,
fuck. How can I
you.
forget my late husband's name?
Victor?
Victor.
Oh
I
yeah,
was following Victor into some ruins, and the further and deeper we went in, we just kind of stumbled across it.
you guys found the original dig site
Hmm.
and reactivated the teleportation spell that took you to the vault.
Right. And that's how we ended up
Yeah, because it was
stuck
all
in
set
there.
up to teleport the orb, and shit had been going wrong when that happened, so they had no time to like undo all their
Oh,
magic circles and stuff.
I remember now, because this links back to Biptap and his old party to
Uh-huh.
a
Indeed.
big degree. Biptap was one of my prior characters in the campaign, where we came up with the whole idea of Chaos Children, which is its whole episode in itself. It could be,
Yeah.
but essentially, Chaos Children. If you ever notice heterochromia, red, blue eyes, and wild magic, probably run. They're
Yes.
They do
Fear
My
somewhat
run.
court
experience
death,
is
don't they?
run.
They don't intend to harm anyone. Well, not all of them, but like, they don't. There's no intention with what they're doing to harm people. It just
Yeah.
often does. Often themselves, which is why they often live secluded lives or with very strong parties that can look after them.
They seem to have an issue with like most of them are fine up until they meet a party or like have to start interacting with the world. They like you said, they seclude themselves a lot. It seems to be like a theme with that group. And so far, every time they've met a party, they've just like immediately met their doom or immediately set off all their wild magic powers. Like,
It's
Tell
like
me
they
about
were
it.
like edging it for years, and then eventually, like they just let it all out.
edging it with wild magic. That's amazing.
Welcome to episode 1, edging it with wild magic.
Oh god.
But no, so this party, obviously my old party was kind of a main factor in teleporting them. These ones weren't ones that were played, these were just story ones, but Biptap was the living remnant of it. I believe there were major parties in teleporting the orb because they were trying to keep the mind flayers at bay and didn't succeed, if I remember
Yes.
rightly.
Well, I mean,
So,
they sort of succeeded. They stopped them getting back the. So this was the other magical item. Well, magical, psionic, kind of magical.
psionic orb, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
the
this,
yeah, that was the other item that got just not destroyed but broken when the explosion went off. Was this powerful psionic conduit that some people had nicked from the mind flayers? Always a good idea to steal from a powerful alien race. Yeah.
Funnily enough, I have the story here. I've just found it. Funnily enough.
Ooh.
Befaris Teferian nearly dies. Military action. 5,471. This is the story of Biff and his old party. If you're all willing to let me read it out to you quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
Befarius, Bengal, Doxon, and Chai face off against the Mind Flayer menace. Venturing deep underground, the party attack a group of Mind Flayers who are searching underground for something. Lord Mitchell has given them information that led them to believe the archaeological dig being undertaken here by the Lothlaragan Academy of Magical Studies from their Norrickfirth campus has unearthed something rather powerful that the Illithid are after. The party stole the Illithid a few feet from the large circular room where the artifact was found in the battle that lasts over 2 days, just long enough for the mage to enact their spell and move the item. But their party eventually falls. Bip or Bifarius being the only one to survive. The wand he'd brought from the traveling wizard Zalba, only half working, but delaying his assailant long enough for him to escape in a plume of fire. Doxon is the only wizard to know where the mages were taking the artifact, but he was lost in the battle, and no one has been able to verify the say since the destination. Verify the destination of the spell from the runes. So this was the location where we teleported from. This is where the So it seems like we weren't necessarily responsible for moving it, but we kept the mind flayers away long enough for it to be moved somewhere safe.
Yeah, I
basically.
think in that previous party there was a wizard. He had some affiliation with like the magical school, which then was trying to move this magic item. Because to be fair, once it had been uncovered, it would have been dangerous to leave it where it was, I suppose. But
Yeah. True. Unless you reburied it, but that's always an idea.
They could have, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of moral grey area in a lot of the like build up to that campaign in the background details where you weren't necessarily 100% sure who was right and who was wrong, and like, you know, it was there was a lot of interesting things. It was a lot more black and white once they actually invaded, because you guys were basically fighting for your lives. So
True, but that was again only from our perspective. From the mind flayers' perspective, they were trying to get back what was rightfully theirs, and we were stopping them.
no, that is actually fair.
Yeah.
Why is Rotram so chaotic? Sorry, I'm looking at the chat now.
No worries. But yeah,
I don't think Rotram is a chaos child, if that's what you're asking.
Nah. Bip Tap, like I say, he was a member of the end of last campaign. If anyone's watched some of the early videos, they may notice some certain marks on my character, on my portrait. And you may be prone to wonder what those marks were at certain times. Dougie, these were the tally marks you were leaving previously.
Oh yeah, they stopped working.
Yeah, I think it'll be fair to say at this point, since we stopped using them, what they kind of were for anyone who was guessing along at home or has been watching. Those were marks of all my character deaths currently accrued in one of Dougie's campaigns or one-shots. And let's just say it's a lot. Not just the Chaos Children, mind you. I've only had like 3 Chaos Children, I think, exist so far, so that's not too bad. Or is it 2?
Yeah.
It might have been 2. But either way, Bip and Papa, or Peepa, as you keep calling
it.
Yeah. They all tend to be bold as well, I've noticed so far. Or very short hair. I think that might be a reflection of just. I don't think that's necessarily a biological one. I think that's just more too much fire going on. Hair dangerous.
Oh, I thought you were like, who do I associate with chaos?
Old short coots.
Thanks.
Hey. I don't think so. They got it.
I'm not short.
And he's only just old. But anyway, so that was the character I played at the end of last campaign during them explosions. Meanwhile, who were you playing at the time, Sunday?
Saradwin and Rook.
True, because I was playing also one called Jimmy, technically, at the last session.
Oh yeah, we had a side campaign.
Yeah, because characters kind of divulged and left off to do their own thing after a big falling out, we'll say, after a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma was happening.
A party split with no death, actually, but just like
the
ideologies were just one undeath, but like the ideologies were just way too split for that party to stay together.
Yeah,
I mean, they came back together at the end, not as a party, but like they were all came into the final battle.
Common goal, and then they kind of split off after that again.
Yeah,
but funny enough, leads back to our original question about how the events of the last campaign affected this one, because I believe all of those characters in some way did something that affected this one to some degree.
Pretty much
we've
all
seen
of them,
has family that we've met a couple of in the Feywild.
Yeah,
Jimmy, I think Cam has done more than me.
It was only the satyr.
That's true. The satyr was unrelated to Saradwin that you know of.
Dun, dun,
Where's
dun.
my camera going nuts?
Oh god, is Saradwin the Genghis Khan of the Feywild?
Oh dear.
Oh, we're having a bit of a seizure.
Yeah, my camera's going nuts for some reason.
Rabbits.
Yep. Then we had who else? It was Jimmy, Rook, and who was the third in that party? Who was Mike's one at the time?
Wasn't Richard. Richard was his replacement one. He had another one
No.
called Johnny.
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 Of course, how can I forget Johnny?
Between Jimmy and Johnny.
Oof,
Yeah, Johnny kind of was the main reason why Tex kind of advanced the way it is, because he stole an airship.
Yeah.
And he was already working on guns, because he was teleported
guns.
in back from time, and he was building his own fucking guns.
Yeah, that was a big one. Johnny the Unkillable. If Durga was the immortal, Johnny was the unkillable.
What does that make Rook?
Dead. Undead. The undead. You can't die. Got the unkillable, the immortal, and the undead.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, yeah, Johnny was doing his own thing and he advanced tech. And Jimmy, I think, helped establish like defenses basically against otherworldly threats and like the military sort of style of it. Like very
He
much
started a
town
few
guard
militias
style.
around the place, yeah.
Yeah.
And about other people as well. I think, well, I've just seen Lee in the chat. I think your character went on pretty much as they had been in the party, just like seeking out wealth and causing trouble.
True.
Who else did we have? We had Sooty's character, one of his Catmen characters, but I can't remember which one.
Didn't he?
They say Victor.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there was another character who had like a split personality who was haunted by a ghost.
Little ghost girl.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was Luke's character. Luke, being the one of the people in my original 3-year campaign, was playing a not a Tabaxi, the other one, Leonin.
Oh, yeah, Leonin.
He was possessed by the spirit of a small child. That was a long story, but
and not
definitely
as creepy as it
something
initially sounds.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting a little slightly off topic.
Sorry.
No.
Either way,
I know, it's wild.
Like,
No, it's just...
what impact did that character end up leaving on the world after the end of the campaign? Was there anything that they kept doing or affected afterwards?
I think they similarly went on adventuring. I think they stayed with Smithy, who was the half giant, who was like the magical item seller, who built a moving castle, as in like
kind of. It was like a pop-up book of a tower he could carry around.
Yeah, but he was like in charge. But basically, they're like wandering item sellers. I don't think anyone's run into them yet.
No.
And then the other one that made a really big impact would have been Felix, which was Nick's character, who founded the Rangers.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Yep. Yeah, like founded one of the major factions of the next campaign, which is interesting.
Yeah.
There was some hints that Jimmy had something to do with the founding of the Knights of Vigilant Valor as well.
Yeah, that makes sense because of his like loyalty and stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because his whole thing afterwards was like trying to protect the world. So
yeah,
basically
because
what
he
they
got
do.
screwed over by the person he was going to swear himself to.
Yep. It could be why the knights of all the factions involved with the chaplaincy at the moment are not very loyal to them. They don't like swear allegiance to the chaplaincy or follow all of their orders necessarily. They're the most rebellious of like the inner factions there.
True, but they have their own rules for themselves.
Oh yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not rebellious internally. They're still like a military structure, but
yeah. But no, then there was Bip Tap who died in the end explosion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
he got thrown off a dragon.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, there was a dragon fight. I forgot about that.
There was like two dragons at the end.
Yeah,
a dragon slot hybrid and a blue dragon.
Oh, you guys loved the slot from that campaign. They were great.
They were fun.
With all due respect, Dougie, the slot from that campaign could suck my fat plastic purple cock.
I mean, they're pretty chaotic. They might.
They were great. They were great. The only thing I would say about them as like more of a critique is that towards the end of the campaign, they did start to feel quite overused at times. They started coming up all the time. They were very much we are the subservient. We are the bulk of the mind flayers. We are the what's it called, the brawn, basically.
Yeah.
It ended up being.
I don't. Other than the dragon, I don't think they turned up in the final fight though. They got bored and left.
They went on. They were on the giant boat. Remember, upstairs. We fought them on the boat.
They were on the. Yeah, they were on the deck, but they didn't turn up. Like they didn't carry on after that. They were like.
I was gonna say it was kind of all together, that final thing where we ran, exhausted ourselves like for miles over an entire night to get to the town as the boat arrived.
Oh my god, yeah. You guys chasing a bloody spaceship across the world.
Yep.
Yeah,
On
5
foot.
foot.
yeah. Oh, and Alex's character, before I forget. Frog person.
Oh,
What was it?
Widgety Picket.
Yeah, because Wackety was the later one, so Widgety Picket,
Yeah.
who
God rest his
Alec,
soul.
shunning metagaming, very proud of him, jumped into the exploding ship because his character had no way of knowing it was going to explode.
Thought he was going in there to save people or fight things, and
Just
he jumped in
immediately
and just
blew up.
gone. There was a million
Yeah.
frog pieces everywhere. Radiation, frog pieces, magic items.
Yeah.
Nordic Firth, gone for a weekend vacation.
Narakfirth is now full of irradiated blue frogs. They regenerated from the irradiated frog bits from the
Oh,
explosion.
God. I'm looking forward to when
Yeah.
you guys go and explore that city.
That's a
So
joke,
but we're
by the
also
way, for the
terrified.
audience.
I have ideas.
It's only a joke because we don't know the actual situation of Nordic Firth at this point. We know that it's
Well,
been long
I
enough
do.
that
Well, of
We
course
know
you
it's-
do.
it's been left long enough where things could have either matured and simmered and made things worse, as like things have seeped in, like the magic's leaked into things, or things could have started calming down as like half-life start to affect things and fade out. We'll have to wait until we go there.
Yes.
That's some of the information that you'll have to find out later in chat show stuff.
Stay tuned to find out.
But yeah,
Mm,
you were saying something a minute ago, Sunday. You were about to say something about Bip, or did you
Can't
forget?
remember.
All right.
Oh yeah, I buried them. I had to bury them.
You did. You did. It was weird how you went into the game and buried Bit, but I think at that moment, with how much fourth wall breaking the Slard were doing, it was only fair to give them the taste of their own medicine.
This
Yeah.
is why I loved the Slard so much, was the fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, their version of chaos was basically being able to tell that they were in a game.
Yeah.
That's why they could keep coming back after they died, because it's like, oh, I can just respawn.
They were playing Dungeons and Dragons and they were murder hobos. Like
They were the
just there
Deadpool
to
of
have
the
fun.
game.
Yeah.
They were aware the whole time that they were just playing a game.
I remember the first time I used it was because I managed to freak
Mike.
Mike out, which very rarely happens, which was because
Yeah.
one of them referred to a previous character of his. I think it's one of the only enemies I've just seen him immediately run from in D&D.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nowadays he's a lot more cautious of his fights. I've noticed. At least the
I mean,
fight I saw him in.
He's always been cautious, but like, I think that one was just like, if I stay here, my character's going to die, which he was. The thing was going to kill him, but it was just
True.
reading the signs well.
Yeah, it was nice though. I did enjoy them some parts, like the one-on-one fight Jimmy and one of the Red Slad had, kind of mano a mano style. That was nice. That was a
That
very
was pretty
fair
cool,
fight.
yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Because he rolling like shit as well, and I got like a couple of crits in there. It went really well.
You guys took him
Yeah,
down
we
really
were curb
fast.
stomping. Yeah, we were curb
Yeah.
stomping that poor squad.
And then there was the first crossover episode of that campaign. Which,
Yeah, what
if
happened
you're
the
watching
first
this
time you
one time of
saw?
release, we've just had our first crossover. It was the tower where we got brought in because we saw a magical orb that had like a link to another one. They were like
Yep.
basically like telepathic orbs or teleport orbs that could connect to each other.
Yeah.
And oh lordy, that threw us into danger because this was back when I was still playing Durga, I believe.
Yes.
No.
This is how
No?
Durga died, wasn't it?
No, you're
No,
playing Jimmy
Durga
by that point.
died in a Durga
No,
died
Vidua
in a
died.
robbery
No,
chase.
you're right. Yeah, no,
But
Durga.
he was
No,
still
sorry.
connected to me or Rook.
That's why Durga was still connected to you because of the
Yeah, Durga was still
you carried
there.
around on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
Durga
good
is the whole story. Durga is the best villain. Changed my mind.
Guys,
That
we're getting off topic again.
Sorry.
Well, I just want to say that was a really interesting crossover episode because you guys were so low level compared to that other party.
We were like level 7, well, I think they were level like 13 or 14 or something.
They were up in the teens, so I wasn't sure how that was going to work because the
Yeah,
enemies
quite
probably could have
smart.
individually just curb stomped you guys, but you had to be really tactical.
Yep.
It was basically you guys were playing like the party NPCs who aren't quite as strong as like the normal
Main
party
stuff,
members.
yeah.
Yeah.
But way cooler because you actually could make your own decisions, and I don't have to control a bunch of NPCs and make them all make stupid decisions.
That's true. We just made stupid decisions ourselves. But
Exactly,
I'm sure we
much
can
more
do a
efficient for
recap
you.
episode on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like that's where the effects have happened on the campaign that we've had now. With magic being destroyed, that allowed for divinity to kind of get a foothold in, and that's why you
Mm.
have groups like the chaplaincy basically having their stronghold of being the dominant, like, leading force in the world that we're currently in.
Yeah, they've sort of
Unfortunately, they have
pushed
an
for
iron
political
grip.
power. Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. One question that I guess that was missed was like, how long did it take before people noticed? Because I thought it was basically immediately when spells initially just were all magic surging.
So it kind of rippled out from Norrockfirth. The people in Norrockfirth were like, oh, shit went down and now something's not working properly. That kind of makes sense. But then it started affecting places, miles and miles away in the capital in Lothorogar, where they might have been getting word that something was going down in this other city, but suddenly magic stops working. There's a magic
Oh,
school there. There's like,
that's just
you
something
know,
which came to mind. Just because you're saying that now, I thought, oh god, what's happened to the defenses on that school?
yes, there is there's a
That
shutdown
was
by
your
that
first
point in history. I
TPK.
think that it was my first TPK was in there. Which is mad, considering how people usually say my campaigns are so deadly.
But yeah, so started off like initially big in Norrockfirth, and then it spread out, and now basically the whole continent is already affected. And
Yeah.
the places that already had magic issues, like the Badlands, are even worse.
Yeah, being down there right now is going to be interesting. I don't know if the campaign will go there. I think people have mentioned Norrockfirth a lot more, just because I think it's because the players are familiar with it, and so they're thinking of it as like
A
a
little bit of
refuge.
meta,
Because
like enjoyment. Like we want to
yeah,
go there because even our characters know there's a history lesson. Like it's been 150 odd years since that end campaign. There have been history lessons on, hey, we're not sure on the details because it was very small people and most people who were there are dead. But from what we've
yeah,
gathered, this happened.
it's not quite in living memory, but it's still relatively recent history.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as soon as magic started going wrong, there were lots of political powers vying for like control because
They could
magic
use
is such a force in the world. Like it gives you so many options. If that stops working, there is immediately a power vacuum.
yeah.
So yeah,
People who want to
and then
reform magic schooling, people who want to outright control magic or disbar it and all the stuff, yeah.
well, yeah, because it could be dangerous. That was one of the main things.
That
As
was
soon
the
as that
main
happens,
narrative that the chaplaincy have gone with.
yeah.
Arcane
Well, it
magic
could.
is dangerous.
At this point in the world, I do forget to do this a lot in our games, but basically, there's a chance that magic can go wrong. So every time you cast an arcane spell, you have to make an Arcana check, and like you
Yeah.
can end up
It's
just
10
doing
plus the
random
spell's level.
damage. Yeah, so low level magic, not too bad for an experienced caster. This is why magic has just become more dangerous. It's not deadly every single
It's
time,
why
but
Kem kind of got fucked up last session before the crossover.
yeah, actually related to, but
There's
yeah,
also a
because
thing
Ken
where
was
it'll
like
just be
firing
delayed
off magic.
sometimes. Like sometimes the spell will just delay if you roll lower than it instead of hurting you. It's all
Yeah.
sorts of different effects, yeah.
So as soon as what used to be sort of a sure thing, like I don't know, you cast prestidigitation to clean something, you're not worried about actually killing a commoner. But with how it works now, that damage is enough to just kill a normal person by accident sometimes. And so as soon as that can be dangerous, people are going to start using it. They're going to start using it as a scapegoat.
You're like, oh, I didn't mean to kill him, officer. I meant to cast light because I couldn't see him. I pointed my finger at him to cast light in that general direction. Not my fault that a blast of magic came out and killed him.
Yeah, so you got that side of it where people are just like using it as an excuse. And then because of that and because it actually is slightly dangerous, now you've got people who were already opposed to arcane magic, like certain religious figures, if they was like zealots or whatever, going like, see, dangerous. Like they don't even mean to kill people and they still kill people. So,
On the
got
flip
outlawed.
side, you get the almost like extremists, the ones that are like, yes, finally we can use the chaos. Finally, it's how magic should be.
Yes, there were all sorts of ideologies that got a little bit of a bump after that event. And it just happened to be that the religious ones won out. Partly because, like, culturally that's easier to take. Like, if you're already in a world where religion is fairly important.
Exists.
Yeah.
And when their magic wasn't affected, it also led them to be like the safer option.
Mm-hmm. Also,
Because
look,
divine
the
magic
gods
came-
favor our type of magic.
But funnily enough, if I remember correctly, natural casters didn't get fucked up as a result either.
They didn't.
No.
But what they
They got
were was
prejudiced.
not divine casters.
Yes. So they got a lot of propaganda against them, and have
The
basically been
average
almost
person does not
banished.
know the difference between arcane magic and natural magic. They look very different. They look very similar to a commoner.
Yep. Divine
However,
stands out
if
'cause
it's
it's
not
regular light.
affected by people, or but however, if it's not affected and has clearly been proven to not be affected by arcane or by the fuckery of 150 years ago,
Hmm.
why are people still scared of it if it's
Propaganda.
been proven to be safe?
Propaganda.
Wait, where am I pointing?
You are
That
not
way.
immune to propaganda. It's when
Am I
a British
pointing on
person
screen?
has a
That
look
is
at.
pointing.
It's when a British person has a look at something. Propaganda.
That's so bad. Yeah, pretty much. Like, if the chaplaincy is insisting that everything other than divine magic is dangerous, and they can provide examples of stuff that isn't divine magic being dangerous, they're not going to refer to it as arcane and natural. They're going to refer to it as like unholy magic, or like, you know. So it all gets lumped into one.
It also is a factor where it comes to almost. There are some real life parallels you can see where groups are often dismarred. If one member of that group does a bad thing, all of them, it's a reflection of all of them. Like, this
Mhm.
one druid accidentally killed a bunch of people to protect their forest. So they're just murderers. Therefore, all druids are murderers. And
Yep.
it's like,
Look, they're
oh
the same as
no.
the arcane casters. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things around that. So
Yeah. And
It's
so
well and truly a shame.
media dumbing down the put. I mean, yeah, sort of, Nick. That's kind of
or if not dumbing, at least swearing their view to one that's more favourable for theirs.
yeah, maybe not actively like causing the problem. They're just playing on the problem. Like, people already jump to conclusions about stuff. Let's give them some conclusions to jump to.
Especially since
Um,
information isn't easy to get through. It's just word of mouth, tavern boards, newspapers, maybe. It's not like
yeah,
we have the
there's
internet yet. We've got light bulbs. That's it.
yeah, the messaging system is like there's faster messaging
Light
systems and
bulbs
stuff.
and
But yeah,
trams.
that delay
so,
in the
any,
passage of knowledge is important.
so any knowledge you get, you're going to assume to be true most of the time because of that.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
was
pretty
told that
much.
3
So,
people were killed by rangers in the forest. Oh, damn those rangers. Not letting them in my city. I see when I
uh huh.
report them to the knights. And that's why
See,
there's almost an ongoing feud between the knights and the rangers. Or not the knights so much,
more.
but the
I was
chaplaincy.
going to say more the
Yeah.
chaplaincy and the rangers, because actually the chaplaincy would love to wipe out the rangers, but the rangers are actively helpful for small villages and little towns, and like
Yeah, anywhere
you'll
outside
probably
the big cities, they are the people you go to or transport
you will
between
probably
cities.
yeah, you'll probably find that they're much more favorable outside big cities, like you said. In a city, the chaplaincy can control the narrative. The rangers don't do much there. They're not heroes. They'll probably help you out if they can, but they're not. That's not their area. They'll help you out with like local monsters, attacking your village or whatever.
Witcher style, basically.
Pretty much. That's kind of the role they fulfill. They also have government funding. They're another group like the Knights, where they're like the police force of the wilds, kind of
Keep nature in check,
a
basically.
system.
Don't let it overflow into the cities.
So
Kind
yeah,
of a
if the
checks and
chaplaincy
balances to
ever,
be made.
yeah, pretty much, if the chaplaincy ever got the chance to like say, oh, this organization's shit, we can do a better job than them. Like, we'll send the Knights out something. They would.
Then the
Like,
rangers
they
would
would.
just let all the nature and beasties just invade the cities. Like, all right then, you don't want to do it? Go for it. We'll let you. We'll show you for a minute.
It would be an interesting situation. Yeah, I don't think shiny armor helps you as much if you're tromping around in swamps and forests and things.
No, Mithrin learned that.
Hmm.
Oh god, yeah. Imagine like just
Yeah.
slime from the swamp getting inside your armor.
No, I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right. It takes long enough to
I'd
clean that
pass.
stuff anyway. But yeah, so
Stop
like
it
I say,
clinking
there's a
you.
lot of political powers that are in play right now that are mostly factors to do with the last campaign, and
Mhm.
that's kind of Dougie's main modus operandi. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's just take what the events of the last campaign are and build them into the world building of the next campaign that you can make stories from.
Yeah, because my whole DMing style is more reactionary. So I'll set up the world and then check the players and see what they do. You guys can play around and do what you want with it, and I'll just sort of try and make the world react however makes sense. So when that
True.
process sort of stops at the end of a campaign, I just have to sort of extrapolate out how
I mean,
would this work into the start of a next campaign, you know?
I see that individually in your sessions, but I will say this campaign very much has felt different in the sense that you've had more of a these are the not boundaries of play, but these are the story beats that I'm trying to stick within. Like you definitely wanted us to be
Hmm.
involved with this whole chaplaincy, hierarchies, magic being wild. and that's cool.
Yeah.
It was less like we're going into the world, we want to interact with it. It was more like here are the things to build your characters around because these are things that are going to matter, and I like
Well,
that.
the more you guys, I think this is what's lovely about having a persistent world. The more you guys interact with the world, the more things you do in it. I don't have to dictate where the story's going. I can just sort of follow what you guys set up, or what the ripples from those events would have been, to give a more thematic campaign later, because I've got more to play with and more that makes sense in the world already, and that you guys are kind of familiar with. So you know the names of some of the cities already. I can just refer to them. I don't need to like explain to you what that is.
You don't have to go,
Yeah.
we're talking about Brembrat, the city in the north west. It's a snowy village off the bottom of a mountain. We can show, oh, Brembrat, yeah, we know that is.
Yeah.
It
About
actually
villager.
leads into a question that I have going. It says,
Let's
from
go
Yeah.
for
a
it.
player or DM perspective, what are your opinions on how the story has gone so far? Do you wish other options were taken by the players or yourself in retrospect?
Don't know. I think I originally planned for more of it to take place in the city. So there were a lot of plot hooks that, well, I'm going to say plot hooks that you guys missed, because the general way I try to run it is, if you guys miss a plot hook, that plot carries on. Whatever would have happened without heroes involved happens, and that might come back later. So when a lot of the groups in this one just like buggered off to the swamp immediately because of like that's just where the trail took you, and where like some of the side quests kind of hinted at it. And there was stuff going on in the swamp as well, like for later or for like related reasons. So you guys just went off for that. So a lot of stuff just happened to sort of happen in the city anyway. And then you guys have like come back into a situation that's already developing, and like
Especially
as
our
well,
group,
yeah.
we came back into a situation that really changed.
What was your experience of things when when you first came back to Lothlorgar a couple of sessions ago?
Do you want to go first, Sunday, or do you want me to take this first?
If you want to, you can go ahead first.
Admittedly, in some ways, kind of pissed, because kind of like you were saying there, this admittedly at the beginning of this campaign, it was touted as, oh, we'll do a lot of stuff in the city, and I was looking forward to that. We got stuck in the swamp. We tried to get back. We got back as quick as we feasibly could, like with all our available options. So to come back to a city to basically not have half the city, or to have the city in a state where we can't really do adventures in the way the start of the campaign was, because at the start of the campaign you had other systems in place, like the tavern board chat in one of our private discords that allowed us to see adventures, and we'd take up on those. We would actually follow those and be like, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that.
Oh
To
yeah,
not
that's
be
the
able to
system I'm
really do
gonna.
that anymore, or at least not do that in the way that we had it before, because half the city is now under a massive rubble. It's kind of like, it was a bit annoying at first. I'm like, oh, damn it. And then there was the angle of like, oh, obviously this messes with goals. And I get the flow of time happens. People are going to make actions regardless of what you do. But goddamn, it's annoying when you want to take jobs or want to do certain things. Like I talked about how we wanted to Ocean's 11 the building instead of like being. We weren't bombastic, basically. Our group, we're two people. You've seen the Wednesday group. We can't strategically afford to be that type of group that makes the explosions. We have to be more thoughtful in our approach.
Yeah,
That is not to say that no thought was put into the other approach. It's just a different approach when you have less people.
I'm getting.
And
By the way,
so,
there's a sorry in the chat from Lee.
yeah, I'm watching it. You think we planned
Ah,
it? We have
no,
no
no,
idea what you planned. We don't see your episodes.
no offense, but are you guys really sorry if you were so quick to have it happen?
Either way, we don't know your motives. That's another thing. Hopefully, you guys will be able to get on and get a chat another
Yeah.
time. You guys and Dougie, and you guys can start talking about your experiences and what you feel, and that'll be a lot
Oh
easier.
yeah,
But yeah, I'll say from my
love that.
perspective, it was a case of, damn, we're going to miss out on a lot of things here, but it also opens up a lot of new avenues. And immediately we were like, okay, is there an opening into the bottom? We can't sneakily do this, but can we socially engineer our way in? And then we got into the vault, basically, which was a cool way of working around that. What about you,
Yeah.
Sunday? What are your feelings on the events once we return to Lothlorgar? Not Loth. Yeah, it was Lothlorgar, yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, I was, due to certain circumstances that have taken place with my character, that originally was going to be one of the options if worst came to worst. Because from my character's perspective, like, chaplaincy bad. What's one of the big things that's related to the chaplaincy, or what people would consider, or like would like put the chaplaincy at churches, the spire, things like that. I wanted to get rid of those because, as I believe, if memory serves me correct, Taliesin Jaffe once said, people don't need a building, they need hope, or something along that line.
I think you're
And
thinking of V from V for Vendetta. People don't need built a symbol. Yeah.
someone said fucking Taliesin, and that's the last place I fucking saw it.
It's V for
We're not,
Vendetta.
I'm not gonna laugh.
It could be
Thanks for
both.
laughing at me for my misinformation, guys.
Oh, good. I'm
Yeah.
not like you'd have to explode when we like.
It was
try
it
and
was the
probe
reaction that I found funny, not the misinformation. Don't worry.
Well, in any case, Kem wants to seek equality for the groups because, in his own personal experiences, he's seen how horrible people are to arcane casters. He's met casters who want to learn how to make things better and, have things back to the way they used to be. Kem might only be 17 years old and never know how things used to be, but it sounds sure as hell better than where people are being ridiculed for, some of them being born with it. Like,
No, they're not being ridiculed. They're being exiled and imprisoned. Far worse.
but you get what I
Oh, that's
mean.
so much better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I think obviously as well, this Kem has like since adventuring. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like Kem has seen obviously the flip side of it, where magic has been dangerous, especially with people like Peepar, and even now Lloyd. Arguably, he's dangerous, but in his own ways, not for the magic itself, because he's got quite a good grasp under the arcane arts. But he
Everyone's
is still
dangerous in
dangerous
their
in his
own
own way.
special way.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah, come
dangerous because
on,
you
look
got
at Kem.
magic. You're dangerous because you're fucking dangerous.
Oh, that's an important like distinction to make. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So go on. You
but
saying
yeah,
about Cam?
he as a player, I was happy to get back into the city to try and, put plans into motion, figure things out, take care of things, but as a character, I was fucking terrified. Absolutely. How was I supposed to face the mother of my best friend now that my best friend's dead? How am I supposed to go back into these places after seeing what I've saw and so many other things?
Yeah,
But
that was
also
a
part of
heavy
me is
one.
hurt because the one thing that I knew is home, even if it didn't feel like home, is gone, or at least not 55% destroyed.
Also, on top of that,
Yeah.
like in some ways, because the chaplaincy has been, or at least this building of the chaplaincy, not the whole chaplaincy establishment, the spire has been destroyed. It almost takes away from some of the agency Kem could put into getting revenge, because now it's like there's less of a thing you can aim your anger at, because that's something Kem's always been, good at, is aiming their anger at a target that deserves it in some way. So not
Yeah.
having at least a primary target there to aim it at obviously leaves Kem with kind of almost a missed air of where to aim that annoyance at.
Yeah, it's it, it's scary for him to not have a target, to put it lightly.
That
He
makes sense. Yeah.
he's scared of himself almost in a way as well because he doesn't like his anger. I mean, look, his anger almost killed one of his adopted sisters once because he couldn't stop, beating the shit out of a robot and yeeted its head into some alive mist.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mhm.
And now he's dead but not dead. This
He's
poor
holding on.
17-year-old, yeah, this poor 17, well, now 18-year-old boy has been shoved into so many situations that no 18-year-old person or child, however you want to see it, should ever be into. He's
Yeah.
If things kept going the way they were and he wasn't a PC, he'd probably still, be causing shit, fighting things on the street and
Eventually get crushed by a tower when he doesn't see it coming.
Yeah. But
I mean, you're laughing.
Honestly,
It's
yeah.
kind of like could have what happened. Mithrin and Kem could have just been out on the town, and then
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of like potential player characters in that city that are no more. Yeah, you know,
yeah.
other character ideas you might have come up with. I mean, I don't know. Oh,
I
I don't know
mean,
how spoilery you want me to be about a backup character, Sunday.
I think we
you can go ahead and talk about Carolyn. I don't mind.
All I was going to say is like your backup character is another character from the city, aren't they? So
Indeed, they are. I'm currently working on them as we speak. If you guys see on the stream.
yeah,
my backup character is Lesso.
I
Your
your
character
character
is something else.
for contra to dip into our like bunch of our homebrew rules. In my games, if you completely roll randomly for race, class, and stats, you get a bunch of bonuses to your character, or you can pick some extra options. The idea is to push people into trying new options. Zach is very fond of this random character method of character generation.
Yeah.
I am very fond
I-
of that myself as well. That's how Chem came to be.
And actually, that's kind of how the Chaos Children started, was complete randomness. I kind of fit
Yep.
into the thematics of the meta of making the character with the story of the character existing. This one, it
Rolling
was just a roll.
d20s for your stats.
Yeah, this one I rolled the 4d6 minus take the lowest in order, and I
Yep.
rolled the race, but I chose my class.
Yeah, you were a little less chaotic in this one. But I think for BitTap it was
But
like
no, this still works.
did
Though. They're still chaotic. This character.
Oh yeah, no, it's still
Oh,
chaotic. It's
no.
just the level of chaos.
Are they another Chaos Child?
No, they're not full chaos. BitTap was 60-20s. That's how we started him off. It was like, hey, should we just roll for the meme and see what we get if we rolled 60-20 stats?
Yep.
And I think I got like extremely good stats, like 19s, 18s, 17s, and then like a 12 and 11, and then a 1 or 2 or a 1.
It was
was
a
like,
1.
oh yeah.
It was
So
the
we had to
lowest
completely
possible.
flavor the story about how that worked. Like his whole backstory was about the mind flayers thing and him having his brain eaten, basically, which is how he started with the 1 intellect.
Yeah, pretty much. They were like in the process of eating his brain when he managed to teleport away, weren't they?
Yeah, basically. So I had like irreparable brain damage, like to the point where the only way it got fixed was when I had my whole body reincarnated on a wild magic search.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I let that happen as DM because it was so unlikely. Like the likelihood is you die without ever having that fixed. So
Yeah.
oh, that was
It was
good.
still funny because it led to a lot of communication issues because I don't think it's anything we codified for big play, but we kind of both knew like the implications. Like I could speak, but only I'd know kind of what I meant. No one else would. I could kind of
Yeah.
inform what I meant, and that was kind of how we started to communicate to some degree. It was like, monkey see sort of playing with apples sort of things.
It was amazing trying to because he was essentially had no ability to. He could think, he just couldn't communicate, like couldn't use language.
Yeah, I couldn't ever use my thoughts in a spoken way. Basically.
Yeah. So there was a lot of
And
like you said,
actually,
miscommunications.
yeah. Speaking about like character creation rules and things like that, I mean, what's one of your guys' favorite rules that have been implemented in terms of like homebrew stuff?
I'll mention that in a minute. Just letting you know, Sunday, that your painting stream thing's gone down real quick.
It's
Oh.
because I tapped out.
Okay,
Ah.
there you go. But I know it's a classic, and I know lots of games use it, but I still think having free feet at level 1 is just fun. It allows for a lot of just options, diverse builds. Because even if I do complete chaos, I can always make something work by going, oh, this is a weird feat that would work this to build. I'm gonna do that. And I know that's more of a meta option, but I like it. It's a classic. Can't go wrong.
It lets people try out less optimal character builds because they can shore something up the feet. If they need to like grab a couple of extra points in a stat, or like take the tough feat if like their constitution is shit or something. So yeah, I quite like that one.
Arguably, alongside that, you've got another rule that's like you can mount at the start of a campaign when you first make your character, you can -2 off one stat to +1 another. I think it is, if you want to. Like
Yeah.
you basically lose +1 overall, but you basically get to move stats around, which is really powerful with a lot of Dougie's way of rolling. Because with a lot of ways of Dougie's rolling, you either get less averages, but you can choose where they go, or you get the standard average, but you've got to do them in order.
Oh yeah, so we have that's an interesting.
That's
I don't know
its
if this is
own
my
stream.
favorite one, but it's the standard array we use, the standard array. I have my own
Not
version
so
of it
standard array.
where you can like move. This is going to be so hard to explain, but yeah, we have like multiple starting arrays that you can have,
I feel
and
like character creation stream for this one.
oh,
Make
probably,
your
but I
own
just
Kino
like.
S character.
I mean, the I'm pretty sure on Twitch our homebrew rules are linked, and character creation is at the top of it, so you can have a look at how we make our characters on there. But basically, the idea is the more extreme you make your character, so you can have like I think you start with a 19, yeah, but you also start with a 5, so you can like, yeah, it's not stupid extreme.
It's a min-max player's build at that point, yeah.
For example, I think I got like for Carolyn, I rolled with like just D20s. I think I got like 2 2s, and then everything else is fairly decent.
Oh yeah, I do remember you did that, but no, I'm talking about the standard array. Actually, I could probably pretty easily show this on stream.
Oh god.
And you guys will see it as well.
Danger, warning, stream may go down at
any moment. I'm gonna mess with OBS while we're doing this.
I'll
do a window capture. It's fine. I'm just gonna call this Chrome. Oh, it actually
While
picks
he's
up
pulling that up, another question that I have is on the opposite end of the spectrum. What's your least favorite rule that has been implemented so far?
That's hard because there's a lot of them that are, I wouldn't say tricky, but like awkward, if that makes sense. Like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot about that. Like a lot of little things that because they're not part of the standard experience, you're like, oh yeah, shit, I forgot we've got something for that, or that we have to actually do something for that. I don't hate it because it's not too often been used against us yet, but I can imagine the opportunity attacks from getting up from prone when it already uses half your movement anyway. Although that's been changed, it's 15 feet your movement all times, not half. But yeah, it's like that could lead into something difficult at later points. Hey, there you go.
I did it.
So yeah, we'll jump back real quick. You want to zoom in a bit, Dougie? There you go. Yeah, I've got this box of 5 across, 2 down, and you could select basically a 6 set by either having it in the middle, left, or right.
Yeah, so the highlighted in green one is like our version of the standard array. I think it is just a little bit higher on the top and a little bit lower on the bottom. And then you can shift left for more balanced stats, and I think a higher average overall, and right for less balanced stats. But then
like main stat.
Higher main stat. Which some people like to do because they like a dump stat, and then some people don't like having any weaknesses, and then that's fine if they want to shift over a little bit and just have a more like rounded character. But yeah, I had to label these ones on approval by the DM because I can't have too many people doing this shit.
All Chaos campaign, the one-shot Chaos campaign, Dawn of the Chaos Children, episode 1.
Do you know what I've had no one use yet? Is this one.
I can't read that from here, if I'm honest. It's a bit smaller.
Okay. It is 1d20 plus 1d2. You can only do this if you're rolling in order and using crazy stats.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, option for the future. But yeah, so we have our own set of like weird rules we use.
True, but I don't know. For homebrew rules, it's a mix. There's definitely feats that I'm like, unless you are a character specific, this shouldn't have been a rule. It should have just been a one-off for the character. But I know Dougie's had them made because he had to do them as feats at the time. So for example, like BipTap had the act don't think one, where if your intelligence is lower than 3, you can take this feat. And it's like, it's not often a character's going to be able to get that feat ever. So I'm like, why is that a homebrew thing we've made, really? It should have just been a one-off option. But it was just
probably, yeah. Well, it was because
nowadays.
Well, yeah, it's because we were using D&D Beyond, and it's really hard to change any stats or put notes in places you want without feats.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was interesting.
What about you, Dougie? Is there any like homebrew rules or feats that you've either not enjoyed or wish you could have like not done at all or changed?
There's a bunch of them that I have changed, but yeah, I know I'm a bit biased because I wrote up most of these.
Yeah, it was either collaborative or just you.
Yeah, I've done a couple of changes. I think I've done some unpopular changes. Like, this is a really common homebrew. Potions are a bonus action, except if you're giving it to someone else and then it's an action again. We have a modified version of that where you need a potion pouch. So you can make them a bonus action, but you can only have 3 at a time. and like those are liable to get broken if someone thunder waves you or something. So like it adds a little bit of risk to that bonus.
Oh yeah, I forgot
You know?
about your breaking items, Homeru, because that's not really on the rules. That's more just something you do. Like we've crushed bags before and broken everything inside them and shit like that, or fireballs and
I try
yeah.
not to use it unless it's a big event, like everybody falls off a cliff, or like, you know, in general combat, I assume that your stuff is not getting wrecked. The potion pouch thing was specific, like you have glassware on your belt, kind of like.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
that's
Yeah,
dangerous.
that's an interesting one as well because it overrides one of the like official rules, which like don't get me wrong, so does most of them. But like that makes it very interesting. It's like, oh, using an object is an action. Like you control that from your bag. It's like, yeah, cool. But Dougie wants people aren't popping potions or fight,
Yeah,
or
it was the
they've got to
balance
take time for it.
between it being an action and nobody uses potions, it being a bonus action, everybody pops a potion every turn.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've
So,
got a
wait,
limit and you've got to
correct me
make
if
a
I'm
choice.
wrong. Let's say you've got 3 on your potion pouch. Can you, if you've drank all those, can you still use an action to get a potion from your bag and drink it?
Yes.
At that point, yeah, okay.
So you're not, you can still take the normal, you know, player's handbook action. It's just this item gives you a quicker way to use potions, basically.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, I'd say another one of your controversial ones was the one that you took away that gave you double proficiency on attacks with one weapon. Because that one I think was controversial when it existed last campaign. Because you had people who chose like longbow and they just had like plus 19 to hit.
Oh
or
shit!
something
Yeah, no,
stupid.
that was a bad one. That was
I
good.
think that was you having a learning experience of being like, oh, this is what game balance is. I need to not do this.
That was good in practice with like some underpowered characters that I originally gave it to, and then people min max a bit with it, and I was like, okay. Oh yeah. Also, when you level up, the proficiency jumping by 1, making your weapon proficiency jump by 2. That's very powerful. So yeah, I've way limited what you can do with that feat. I still have the feat, but I've just limited it.
Yeah, but it's a lot more
can do.
toned back now, I find.
That happens a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I think a couple of players still have it, but it's just toned down a bit. That tends to happen in between any break we have in the campaign. I will go over and rebalance everything we've experienced in this campaign that I can remember or that I've noted down.
With discussions, of course. Make sure that players
Yeah,
aren't going to be like, oh, I can't play this character now. I know you've
This
also
is
had
why I
times where
usually do it. So I usually do it in between campaigns because everyone's done playing those characters. I can rebalance all the shit, and then when people make new characters, it's already rebalanced for them, which is a bit easier than trying to power down something someone's already got.
Yeah, I've also noticed that if people have taken something that they've really not enjoyed, on level up you will allow often people to change it out. If it's like, yeah, I've literally found 0 use for this. I thought it'd be actually something I'd use, and it's not. You've been a lot more fair with that.
It's basically a given. If someone just like, if it has had no story impact and you're just like, you've never found a use for it, yeah, it doesn't.
I think Chem did that, didn't they, with their Tavern Brawler, if I'm not mistaken?
I think it was Tavern Brawler because maybe you still have Tavern Brawler. There was one thing you had and you found that.
Brawler still.
Right.
Well, you're a punchy fighter and you had taken something that made you
that
punchy.
Gave you one yeah, when you're already a punchy fighter.
So you found that you weren't using it at all. I can't remember which thing it was though.
Whatever the case.
Oh, yeah. We've got one more chat here actually from another member of our party that talks about rerolling initiative. Is that one that you don't like then as part of a question? Because I know that a lot of players have had issues with that.
That has been controversial.
I love it until it works really against you. Like until like say you're at the start of one round and then you're at the end of the next one and you've only got like a character that use reactions, it fucks them completely. Any character that use reactions, it kills them, which is kind of annoying.
It doesn't because it can work exactly the other way. You can like end up at the end of one round and then start the other round, so you've like used your reaction to defend yourself and then you immediately use it again. Like, you know, it's, and then if it depends what the reaction is, because if the reaction is shield and you're at the top of one round and then the end of the next round,
that ends at the round though. That ends at the end of the round. Shield
does it? I'm pretty sure it ends at the start of your next turn.
No, we can double check, but I'll let you continue. What about you, Sunday? While I'm looking this up, what was your like least favorite homebrew rule?
Rolling twice at disadvantage for on death saves when you get hit.
Oh yeah, my death save mechanics have also been a bit controversial.
Because quite frankly, with already how crunchy your game is, I mean, take a look at the tally marks that Zach has.
No, that's a me problem, Sunday. That's not a Dougie problem. That's a me problem.
That's a specific Zach curse. But yeah, go ahead, Sunday.
With how crunchy everything is already, I find it a bit unfair to the players to have them struggle even more after they get up.
Well,
Like, for
interestingly,
example, if
those.
Oh, the
Oh,
wounded
so.
bit. The wounded
Oh,
bit, is it?
wounded.
well,
Yeah,
also
that
the
is a bit.
wounded as well. I don't like the wounded bit either. I don't like anything personally that involves like all of that really nasty shit that happens to anybody with all of the death saves because we're already dealing with enough shit on top of it already. It just makes things so much fucking harder.
I would like to say
That's
Doug's defense
actually.
on that one. It's actually a
Yeah,
kind of a, it's actually a buff to
I was going to say
players.
that's a buff for players because the actual thing that happens when you get melee hits,
Hit when you're
if you're
down
the, is two
two
fails
dead save fields. Yeah,
instead of
at least
two
the way
rolls at
Dougie's got
disadvantage.
it.
It's just two fails.
Yeah, at least the way Dougie's got it, it offers us agency and a chance to both still roll above the 10 on the
That's
fails.
basically why I did it. But it's I think actually it was partly inspired by the wounded condition because people were saying like, oh, that hastens like
Wounded fucks you.
me dying,
Yeah,
which it
wounded does
does.
fuck you.
But it's kind of
But I
designed to
know why it's there.
it's designed to if a combat's going on and people keep getting downed and downed and downed, it's to make it feel like we can't carry on with this. This fight is not going well. Like we're gonna get killed.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's like tied with death saves is what makes that one a bit harsh sometimes. Like if it was its own separate thing, like hey, if you've gone down 3 times, you don't get death saves at that point. But the fact that once you go down, that wound classes as a failed death save
Mm,
means that as soon as you're down, you are panicking. There's no like chat, like because that's less time for allies to get to you.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like I get what it's there thematically, but fuck, it's scary when you're like got any wounded condition at all.
I know, but it's by
I
design,
mean,
and I
like,
know like
look at Kem, for example.
yeah.
I'll bet you anything he would have had one more chance at the very least if it wasn't for that wounded condition.
He would have, yeah. But that's kind of this is why this is a controversial rule and why I try and run things past players as many times as I can and make sure like it at least doesn't feel too unfair is because the point of the wounded condition is to make you panic when you go down and it's to make your allies panic when you go down. Because obviously everyone knows when you're wounded, so you can go like, oh, our twice wounded player has just gone down again. Shit. Like we need to get to them
One death
now.
save, they are dead, yeah.
Yeah, there's no like, oh, they can last a couple of rounds. It's like right now. So
Yeah, I think it's awkward
you
though
know,
when you've got nothing that can get to them in that time.
it
That's
is.
like especially in a smaller party, for example.
This
Yeah.
weirdly enough, when Kem got caught out with having a wounded condition and going down, you didn't have your NPC healer with you. You didn't have half your backup with you. It was you two on your own, which is where that rule like really like I don't know. Yeah, just, it was only a bad thing at that point. Whereas if like so that they're NPC they have in the party is Mesalea that can heal. Yeah, Mesalea can heal and Lorna can shoot. And that would be an impetus for them to rush to you and try and heal you, like that's sort of how a healer player probably would. But yeah, just
Because of the story beats we took to make us have less threats around us or more spread more ground quicker, they won.
yep, that was a tricky situation.
Yeah, but either way, that's
I barely
overall
had
that's
an
controversial.
no offense to you, Zach, but I'm putting that one on you because I was just following your lead at that point because I had
No,
no
you
idea
weren't.
what the
You
fuck was
chose not
going
to follow
on.
my lead at that time. You said I didn't hear you. You
I
chose
just-
not to follow my lead. This
I
is a
think
It
player
was
really,
your
like,
argument that's still
choice to make
happening.
it was your choice to make them split off.
I think the general situation was like splitting up was I guess it was a party decision, but like led by Lloyd because Lloyd has more like
I'm the face
confidence as a character than Kem. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Kem is very good in action situations. Lloyd's very good in talky situations. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I find it less useful to jump back and try and analyze all the steps moving up to a situation because hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't know necessarily. You thought you were going in just to find items. You didn't even know there were going to be like creatures in there. You didn't know. And this isn't spoilers by the way because the other party is now run as these creatures.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But
At least some of the creatures. Dun dun dun. But yeah,
interesting you
no,
say that. But
there's definitely a lot of set of rules, and I'm sure that in the next stream we'll go. I'm happy to go through the actual document with you guys, and then we could
that'd be quite
definitely make
interesting.
more detail into the bits that we like find. Because I'm sure there'll be rules in there that we're like, oh yeah, I forgot that's a rule. Like Dougie forgetting the Arcana checks on spells. Like, oh yeah, shit, I
Absolutely.
forgot that's a thing.
It'd be good for us as well. This is why we need more people in chat to like call us out when we forget our rules, because they can have like. You see, all right.
Oh, don't call me out.
Weirdly enough, I don't think I actually answered this question. The brawling rules are my favorite. They never
Really?
fucking get used.
That's true. To be
They
fair,
got
we never
used
got into
once
a bar.
recently.
We've never gotten into a bar fight with our characters because at the time
No.
my character didn't want to draw any attention to themselves. Mithrin at the time,
Yeah.
and the
I
last
would
one
have
that
gotten into bar fights, but Mithrin was my voice of reason.
Yeah.
kept calling him a piss drinker, which almost led to a bar fight.
An internal party
Because they
bar
were!
fight.
They were!
No, they're not. They drank water that just happened to be piss at one point, like everyone does. You drink piss
Oh.
by that logic.
Yes. But
What
you
the-
decided to willingly piss into your tankard and then use purified food or purified water on it.
I sped up the process, okay? All I did was expedite the
You
process.
willingly pissed into your tankard and used magic to make it into water. There is a difference.
Look, if Jesus could make water into wine, why can't I make piss into water? Checkmate, atheists. That's a joke for anyone watching.
Oh my god.
What I'm saying is Mithrin is basically a god. Anyway, let's move on.
I mean, with the pedestal that Kem holds them up on, maybe.
Oh
Yeah,
dear. We did.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, all gone.
Oh, we did get to use the bar fighting rules. Actually, the other party got into a bar fight. Not story related. They just got into a bar fight.
I mean, that is their story most of the time. Fight things.
It is, yeah. But I just loved it. It turned into a proper like throwing things across the bar, throwing people around. Rotram nearly got thrown out a window. Like,
Nice. Yeah, I'd say the closest thing I've had to a bar fight was in another campaign where Dougie wasn't DMing. Someone we know called Josh, where we had the pirate bar fight. That was a cool one.
I don't know if
That
that
one was
counts as a bar
deadly.
fight because I pulled a wepen.
It was a fight in a bar, and it was over
was.
beer and chairs. You know?
Initiated by me shooting someone in the leg.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quite as sportsmanlike as some other bar fights.
That was great.
But we were pirates at the time, so.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But anyway, so
good.
that was that one. Have we got anything else on the list for tonight's question?
Got wrapped up in all the rules.
I mean, that was one of the two topics that I wanted to talk about. So I mean, things worked out. Ooh, who is the most infuriating NPC you've had to play or interact with? Did anything happen
Boris.
to him?
Fuck Boris, and I hope they're dead.
Fuck you, and I hope Lloyd loses his new magic arm.
Actually, Boris, I'm annoyed at, but in my player, I can express that annoyance, and it's fair for my character being as like cynical and judgmental as like as suspicious as they are. A character that always pissed me off because I knew they were evil from the moment I fucking met them. Victor, fucking Victor. He stole my friend's book. He stole my. He was a grave robber. He was a grave robber. That's still stealing. Archaeology takes a lot longer than that.
Oh, I forgot how much you hated Victor.
It's not Victor's fault that your group decided to get absolutely fucking murked by Illithids and he just happened to stumble across their book.
Wow. All right. Next time there's a world-ending threat, we won't save the world. See what you think then.
It's not his fault that shit happened.
Stop defending him, you fucking simp. You ain't though. That's the thing.
I hope the compressor's working on Sunday's audio in the chat. In the stream.
Right.
No, but for me,
being so suspicious of him.
I was right. There was still something off about him. He was hiding that the whole time. I wish those kobolds had fucking ate him when we went into the dragon's lair. Anyway.
I can say the same about the fucking cave-in.
Oh, me and Sunday have talked quite a lot about.
My favorite NPC.
We talked quite a lot about Victor actually, because you kept asking me if there was anything else about the character Sunday, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
And still, personally, I can't vilify him for it.
How many details do you want to share with the stream right now, Sunday?
Oh, I know, like he was outcasted and also Sunday. I think Sunday at one point in history did tell me his full story. I still dislike him. I don't care.
And you can still suck my dick.
Oh, Sunday, did you tell him the full story though?
I can't remember. It's been a
I
while.
think I did, but I can't remember.
The crimes were
Anyway.
worse than grave robbing. Let's just say that.
I think, long story short, um, there were some quote unquote good, upstanding citizens that were doing some really shitty things, and because they were the good, upstanding citizens in quote marks, everything just kind of got swept under the rug, and he took matters into his own hands. That's it. He was
Ah, a
playing.
murderer.
He was playing handmade hero. You can suck my fucking cock, boy.
Hey,
I can and
I'm
will
envy. Thank
fight.
you.
I
Suck it, them. Thank you.
Thank you.
I still can't vilify him for his actions, and I will
That's
fight
fine.
you to. I will still fight you to the grave
What's
on
there
why
to
he
fight
is
about?
innocent.
What's there to fight about? I don't like him. He was infuriating to me. That was the question. We're not here to discuss whether he was right or not. The question
So
was,
to
why be so
violently change the
infuriating?
subject, Sunday, who's your least favorite NPC?
And favorite, yeah, favorite, least favorite.
Oh yeah, let's have some favorites as well. Actually,
Well, Victor is definitely one of my favorites, but since he's currently not in campaign, I'm not going to really use him as my current favorite.
fair enough.
I think. Oh damn! I can't use him either. He's dead.
Still choose because like these are from the games that we've had.
Yeah, just like in
You know,
general.
Victor's technically dead. I still chose him.
Ornang.
Oh yeah, with his frost sword.
He's pretty cool.
I think.
He's
I
very quiet and
think
stoic.
it's perfect. I think it was because of the interaction both Kem and Ornang had when they were just awake at night.
Yeah, there was some pretty sweet interactions between your characters. He was very awkward and sort of emotionally stunted, but like
I mean,
really trying
Kem
to
is
make you
too.
feel better. Yeah, it was two characters that cannot express their emotions, trying to be like there for each other in like a really difficult time. It was quite nice.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so
scary.
you've got one you like. I've got one I hate. So now we need to do the opposite. I
Yeah.
need to do one I like. You need to do one you dislike. I was thinking about this for a while. For the one I like, and as much as I like, as the characters are gonna have lots of issues with him, I really like what you've done with what you did with the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we know their proper name. Am I allowed to say it for the stream's sake, or will that spoil
Yeah,
things that are in this
it's
campaign?
no, it's on all the timelines and things. I think at this point.
Yeah. So Vulahith, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. The way you
Mhm.
portrayed them as just like a charismatic noble who wanted to be isolated and have their own goals. That because they're so rich, we weren't like in the same price bracket to really know what they were doing. They were like they could get us anything we need to complete the job. They brought Durga back repeatedly, basically like gave him anything he wanted, so he sucked up to them. Like, and even though Durga knew there was something wrong because it wasn't actually there, like
Yeah.
the boss was clearly just had an atmosphere around them where they were so powerful it didn't matter. It was like
Yeah.
I really liked how that was portrayed, and obviously the reveal that the whole time they weren't Lord Aaron Mitchell, as it were, right at the end of the campaign as they walked away, and the fact that it was kind of their fault that the whole ending happened in its own way.
Yeah,
Like,
he was
yeah, you played out that
clearing up his
storyline
own
really
mistakes
well,
by
and
throwing other people at it.
yeah. And I'm still curious to see what
Yeah.
happens with the events of the last campaign, like the orbs we collected for him, like the one that helped with the, like stopping the flood escape or whatever, and all the other bits.
Agreed.
Yeah, that is an interesting situation where I wouldn't say the big bad, but like a bad, like a side bad guy, kind of, who just didn't die. Like there wasn't even a final battle with him. He just got in, sorted out what he wanted to, and left.
He fought Durga. He immediately killed him.
Yeah, so I think as a big group, you might have been able to do something about that, but like no one,
We
the
were
other
all
group didn't
weakened
know he
from
was
the
a bad guy.
fight.
You were,
Yeah.
weakened from the fight. You had all the other stuff. I don't know if any of you guys directly ran into him either. Rook saw him.
Yeah, I didn't see him.
I
Jimmy
was,
did.
didn't-
Rook was
yeah.
said, or Rook was told that he was no longer of use and that he just walked away. And
Yeah, that I forgot about that. That was harsh.
Yeah,
It is how he would have said it, but it was harsh.
Jimmy spent the rest of his life trying to find information on him while he was doing the malicious stuff. That's why he had so many malicious towns set up. So any record of him at all could get back to him, but it
Yeah.
almost never did.
Or who?
Like he
Oh,
really
Nick,
went
this
underground.
Nick, so remember when your character, Mike's character, and Luke's character were fighting this kind of like demented Illithid on the ship at the end of the last campaign? And then a wizardy type character walked into the corridor and just blew him up. That's who we're talking about, the one that blew him up. He was like a potential
boss
big
for most of
bad
the
of the
campaign?
campaign, but he was the boss of Sunday and Zach's group, like because they were
Yeah,
sort
Sunday
of
group
playing
and Alex
villainous group.
at the
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
we were playing
Alex
the
was
baddies. Initially, we went to be the baddies of your campaign.
yeah, and then like events could conspire to make you guys be on the same side. But yeah, he was a potential baddie. He could have been a baddie in one of your campaigns. It's just that you never crossed his path. You never irritated him or anything. So yeah. Yes, that is the one. You did meet him at one point, but you didn't annoy him enough to make you his problem. He was after something. I don't know if you guys ever realized this. He was after something at some point. He was like doing his own thing, and the other party ran into him and got so fucking lucky that they didn't just get obliterated.
Really?
They had a bunch of lucky rolls, which made him think, okay, this isn't worth it.
Wait, is that the same reason why when Jimmy came back, he wasn't there? I still don't know why he wasn't actually there. Like,
this was earlier in the campaign. He wasn't there because
Oh,
of the
never
Illithid
mind.
attack, actually.
right.
He had like fled basically,
already.
just like
Yeah.
bugged out. But yeah, earlier in the campaign, the other party ran into him, and we're talking like a really low level party going up against like over 20th levels kind of character who really should have obliterated them, but they got very, very lucky and hit him with some like good strategy, and he that bugged out. No, you didn't nick his set. He was there to steal magical items, and you were also there to steal magical items, and you just happened to get the better of him, and he didn't see you as enough of a threat to track you down and kill you.
Luckily, you both didn't want the same magical items.
Yeah, you got some stuff that, because he had already grabbed something, he was trying to grab something else, which you did stop him getting, but it wasn't that important to him, so.
That's where we come in. The bad guys. We were most of our campaign, last campaign of us being the bad guys, was reconnaissance and fetching items for him. It was all fetch quests, but it was all fun.
Do you know what? When he tried the fetch quest, that was before he hired you guys.
All right, he's like, I can just delegate this. I can get cheap bandits. They just live outside town. I'll set my house up as a like honeypot, basically, draw people in, trap them, and then offer them to work for me.
He was pretty much like, I don't want to do this myself. I might get hurt, or like it's too much hassle for me, so I'll just hire a bunch of bandits to do it. Yeah,
which he did. Little did he know about how stupid a decision some of that was, how bad we were together.
It was interesting, and he did kind of cause Durga to be a more, eternal, immortal,
invincible, unkillable, immortal.
I hate him with such a burning passion.
Durga's great.
This is the one time I'm not gonna yell. Please, no.
Okay.
I think Sunday has some trauma over this particular character because they started as a PC and very quickly became a problem.
They started as a player character and then became a problem character.
Yes. Even after they died.
Yeah. Because they kept coming
Especially
back.
after they died.
Oh god, I can't wait for that story. I'll give you guys a little spoiler. There was a potential storyline where one player character could have essentially overridden another character at one point, or at least shared the body with.
Oh no, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been a share. It would have been an all-out, like, ward or keep control of that.
He could already see through your eyes and communicate to things around you, basically telepathically,
without me knowing.
Without you aware,
as subtly as he could, trying to take over Sunday's character. Oh, he was such a bastard.
But the thing is, he didn't just want to take them over after the whole cave incident where he first should have died. He wanted to get his own body separate so he could kill Rook for that.
He was such a vindictive, horrible little shit, and like he just wouldn't die.
Don't take me to that fucking cave, I'm telling you.
Oh, it's like a cockroach that could do damage.
But they didn't take me, but because I'd bound myself to Rook, the item that held my soul kept pulling itself back to them.
Yeah.
So the moment they went in there, it took me in. But from Durgan's perspective, Rook just took me into the fucking cave.
Oh,
They are going
long
to die
story,
for
but yeah,
this.
just these like
I even
incidental little
told
slights or like
I even told
minor
even
things.
playing carefully, I told him exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, I know, but Durga had far too gone by that point. He was already evil. The item that he was stored in was itself kind of an evil item. Because originally it was
Yeah.
an okay item. It was just, it'll protect you a few times. It was quite good. And then the boss fixed it up for me to make it stronger, but with quite a lot of necessary drawbacks.
Yeah, he used necrotic magic and like basically death magic to make it not just, protect you, but actually bring you back from the dead and like,
No matter the
you know,
cost of who's around me.
yeah, do damage to
Basically.
it. He made it a much more evil item. Also, was there an actual good group in the last campaign? Yes. Mosamira, Richard, and Cade, I
Cade.
believe, were an entirely
All very
heroic
good.
party.
Yeah.
And that was my first TPK ever.
Yeah.
I mean, would
Oh,
you
yeah.
say entirely heroic, especially for Moss, considering her relations?
Yeah, I think Moss was a good person. I think they were the
Rubbed off
product
wrong
of
guy, maybe.
evil. But yeah, they like. I don't think Moss had ever
I feel
done
like
anything like particularly
same.
evil or intentionally.
I feel like if Moss's story kept going, it'd have been a really interesting story of nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
That, yeah. And obviously, there's still technically a chance with how Moss was and is for them to be back someday in one form or another.
Indeed.
That's true, yeah. They are.
And then there was the whole incident with the Monk's Temple, which really showed character. That whole incident showed a lot of character between them all.
I
Because Cade was the only one to pass that test, if I'm remembering rightly.
Yeah,
He immediately just tried to yeet the item away.
Cade passed by the standards of the spirits that were at the temple. The other two still made like potentially morally good choices. They weren't using the item for evil. They
Well,
just weren't as pacifist as the monks wanted.
as I said, I'd say there's a spectrum. Cade obviously tried to destroy the thing because no one should have that amount of power. Moss
Yeah.
only used it when they thought their friend was about to die. So they kind of used
Yeah.
it for at least a justifiable reason. Richard used it because there's something in front of me. I want it dead. It's gonna die.
Yeah. Even in Richard's
This is
case,
like the
though,
least justifiable.
like it was at least justified from like the monk's perspective, but from his perspective, like the temple had been attacked, you guys were under attack, you weren't the aggressors in the situation, and he wanted him and his friends to survive. So, like, pretty justifiable use of the item.
Yeah.
It's just that from their perspective, they what they were trying to test is if you were given an item of ultimate power, would you use
How
it?
would you use it? Or yeah,
You
how
know.
would you use it and would you use it? Cade
Well,
immediately was like, no one should have this. Like Cade was the hero archetype. He was out to save the girl, as it were, as
Yeah.
his lost love. He was the literal stereotypical, I play music, my love is lost, I must find her. No one should have
Yeah.
that much power. It's too much.
I will say though, almost no NPCs in my groups or in my campaigns are good or evil. Like the monks were in the position of judging good and evil from their
They're lawful
perspective.
neutral. Yeah, lawful neutral.
Yeah,
They've got a
they'd
goal
be
that they follow.
they'd be lawful neutral, and they were like, no one should use the power for any reason, even if they could do good with the power, they shouldn't use it.
Then why were they, if they don't want anybody to use it, then why were they manipulating people to use them? Because if memory serves me correct, during the attack, quote unquote, when Moss was doing everything she literally could to try and save them, one of the
Yeah.
monks literally handed this to her and said, use this, it will save us all.
Yeah.
That was the
Because
test.
it wasn't real.
That was yeah,
it wasn't a real item. He
matter.
wasn't actually giving you the thing. He was like, if I give this to this person, if in a dire situation, would they use it? And their test was if you use it, like you shouldn't get these like powers. You fail the test. That's what I mean. Like it's not a test of morality. It's a test of morality from their perspective.
And it wasn't even them. It was like some god or something, right?
This is really getting into the last campaign. So the boss the boss had a partner at some point in history. These guys kind of like uncovered this as they went through the campaign. They had a falling out, and he murdered this other character. This other character was a seer, could like see partly into the future. I think it gave you the precognition feat if you pass this test. This was like the mechanical benefit for passing the test. Mm-hmm. But this person had kind of had previous contact with these monks. The monks are an odd force in this world.
They're a permanent force that don't change, and it's weird.
They're pretty much there to teach lessons to people, or test the morality of people from their perspective or whatever. So yeah, she pretty much like used them to test you guys to see if you were worthy of this precognition power.
I think Rook already had. Rook wasn't in that group because it was most of the time, but Rook already had that power from something else that happened earlier in the campaign.
Yeah,
and I don't know what.
It's something to do with Durga. I know that much. I think because it was just before. No, it happened when Durga was about to be killed that you realized you had it. When he was like trying to rob the place, basically. No, yeah. No, he was. Yeah.
I got a weird vision from something, and I don't know where. That's it.
I don't 100% remember where you got that from. There are other sources of those powers. She wasn't the only person who could do stuff like that. But yeah. I honestly don't remember what the that moment.
I was gonna say, as for what happened to that group, TPK. Shall we give away where they ended up, or is that one to find out? Because
I think where they ended up is a spoiler, but they were investigating an area.
They investigated a building of sorts that is hard to get to and hard to get out of. But because of that, within that building, something dark had festered, something that had gained power over the ultimate area. And as we were the new thing in there, we were its play toys, as it were. And it used that to its advantage until we found out. And then in the process of fighting that thing, it kills us. I think that's a vague enough answer to say that what happened, with still giving enough story beats.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The group got a bit unlucky. Fight went south. Didn't really have any exit options. Kind of backed up against a wall.
As a player,
at that point,
I also didn't understand legendary resistances at that point as well.
Yes, they were fighting a powerful enough enemy that had legendary abilities.
I can't remember the spell use, but I think you had a different version of counterspell in that campaign as well that allowed you to reflect spells, and we kept bouncing fireballs at each other. Yeah. That was so fucking funny.
It's a fireball
would
go off
just
and it'd be like,
harassing the fuck out of this thing.
Yeah,
You're just harassing the fuck out of that
hated
bitch.
the fuck out of them. Cade may have passed the other test, but if he passed like respect for your elders test, he'd failed.
It all depends on what you're testing, I suppose. But yeah, that was.
Have you ever heard it referred to the bone bitch? Now you know.
Your party loves to give the bad guys and like NPCs that you hate. They always get an amazing nickname.
For me, it's always been fucking Boris.
Yeah. The bone bitch is one that sticks with me. I think I actually labeled like the character in Foundry the bone bitch.
Because you know who that is as soon as we mention it.
Yeah, they had an actual name. It's written down somewhere.
You told me their name at one point. I'm just like, yeah, no, bone bitch.
Yeah,
I do like how we got into it. Like, because even though we didn't know about the badness till afterwards, I did like the whole social interaction to begin with. The small room we arrived in for that place to gain access to the main thing. The kind of like almost bureaucracy of paperwork we had to kind of manipulate into giving someone the access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was there were other forces in that place that
it is, but yeah.
Yeah, there was another entity that you guys had to interact with when you first got there that was like
fucking door. That fucking
absolutely
door, dude.
fucking mad, yeah.
I still want to know how they knew my creator.
Well, there's reasons, but I can't give you the reasons without spoiling where the location is. So
I'm just hoping that one day that book that was signed is found. See the name there. Like, who the fuck is this?
That would be quite cool.
Yeah.
For any player out there who, without giving too much away, please find Moss. I really miss her.
Just investigate everywhere in the world, and you'll eventually find
that happens to have a building or at least one door.
There you go.
You've never
find a talking door, even better.
Yeah.
Please, I love and miss her very dearly.
Yeah. Richard also.
How would you feel about them coming back as? Sorry, go ahead.
There you go.
I was gonna say, how would you feel about them coming back as a an NPC?
I mean, it would make sense, but with how things are currently set, and I remember talking to you about this. I'm not sure how they would react. Like we talked about, like the potentials behind it, but we never spoke about what they would do exactly.
If it ever comes up, I think I'll just have to have a word with you about it. But yeah, definitely be interesting.
Just aggressively message me on the side if she ever comes back up.
Not
Santa,
so
I
much
need help. They found her.
not so much NPCs, but two-player characters relationship who I really wish I got to see develop. I forget the name of the character I was playing it at the time, but it was the really rough barbarian one from the Deadlands. Greyhawk.
Yeah,
Greyhawk.
Greyhawk. Yeah,
Greyhawk, yeah. Him and Richard's dynamic. Like strength versus intelligence, constantly fighting and butting heads. Like Greyhawk was like,
yeah,
strength can do so much, like literally drags a T-Rex around and like cuts it up, and he's just like, yeah, well, explosions can do way more, magic can do more. It was
yeah.
literally the whole anything you could do, I could do better argument constantly. It was
It
a
was a
dick
very
measuring
fun
contest,
dynamic.
and I
Yeah.
loved it.
I would have loved to see their, or also his and Moss's relationship.
What, Richard
Further on.
or Greyhawk?
Greyhawk.
It was an interesting like little
I have no
party that
idea.
you guys had because I would say Moss was like more on the intellectual side, but also had like what not in the same way that Richard was, but also had like no experience with the world, so was very influenceable by both of the other people.
Yeah.
So that would have been, yeah, interesting.
Greyhawk would have happily tried to let you work out and try and build muscle. I'd probably tried to feed you meat until you got
I'm not
stronger.
going. I remember when you punch, or like when you told me to punch you for the first time, and for
Oh yeah,
like
weak.
I wanted so
Oh.
bad in that moment for you to just cock her in the jaw, for her head to turn backwards, and then for her just with a straight face.
He just spins around and around, you know, around and
That probably would have. I don't know if that would have gained respect or if that would have been horrifying for Greyhawk.
Greyhawk would have just seen you as completely fucking weak. Like, oh Jesus Christ. But also maybe amusing if like I could beat you up and weird things happen. Like, watch this, I just pull your arm up and wave it around. Improvise weapon.
Oh
Put it
my
back on your
god,
arm.
that would have been
He
interesting.
wasn't that joyful though. He was very glum because of his like upbringing in the Deadlands, where you had to kind of be hardy. He wasn't like
Yeah.
excitable either. He was just like, things need to be done. Punch me.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
But no, that was fun.
Who, what, Nick? This is Mosamira. That was one of Sunday's characters from a
Here,
another game.
Ducky. Before I open up
Yes.
something, should I show them which option should I show? The publicly known one or the other one?
It's entirely up to you.
I do feel like that answers itself though in the name. Also, I'd recommend, yeah, you're still screen sharing your folder so we can see anything that's in there, just a warning.
That's fine.
I know, just in case you've got any artwork in there that wouldn't be safe.
That's her old one. That's her old design. Sorry. That was one of Moss's many disguises that she never got to use.
Damn good glove.
It is an interesting glove.
I like drawing hands.
I'm not gonna lie, it's reminding me a lot of the oh there you go. Yeah, that character. That one there.
Carolyn.
Carolyn, yeah.
We love Carolyn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but no, the image I'm thinking of was the porcelain one you showed me.
I'm not thinking about the porcelain one. Wait, but they'll find her as the porcelain, so.
Yeah, that's what we're
That's
saying.
true,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the form that she'll be in.
Which one was that? Fail. Floating in space. Can't remember which one it is. We'll figure it out. Ah!
Oh, was that it?
That's her.
For some reason I don't remember.
That's usually what I preferred to show, but this was her clothing that she wore everywhere.
You know, it's not inappropriate if it's a construct, is it? But it's still cool.
What was that say?
Just talking about the design. But yeah, that's really cool. Right. Now you've shown that, if it's okay with everyone else, I think we might take a small, quick minute break, have a breather, get a drink.
I was going to say that because I quite need to piss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realised when I put Sunday full screen to like show what was going on there, I could not hear Zach anymore, so I might have to fix that.
That's all right. Don't you worry. Right, guys, we'll go on a quick, short break, and hopefully we should be back in no more than 10 minutes.
Come on, where is she?
Bye.
Yeah, Bryn.
Hi. Welcome back, guys. We
Hope you enjoyed your break.
Is
Yeah.
it just me, or can we not hear Sunday?
I can hear Sunday. I don't know about the stream.
Well, now I can't hear either of you.
Oh lordy.
hello.
As
Testing
Dougie
1
broke
2.
things
Can you all
again.
hear me now?
Can
I'll take
anybody
that
hear anything
as
on
a
stream
yes.
right now?
I can hear me and you, Dougie, but not Sunday.
Okay, you guys can hear.
I can hear Zach and Dougie, but I don't think anybody
Alright.
else can hear me.
Bear with me a moment.
You broke Sunday, Dougie.
What? You broken now? Sunday is broken. Sound on stream is okay. Is it broken or is it okay?
Testing 1
I
2.
should be able to hear you guys. What the hell?
Hello there.
1
Sun-
2. Buckle my
Sunday.
shoes.
Sunday, can you hear me?
Alright, let me try
Yes.
and get rid of that.